And you do that, this is not $1 million a year. This is $10 million. This is 30, if you sell 34 per month, starting from scratch, or at least how I would do it, because it's how I did it. Okay, so I remember a few years ago, well, actually, it was more than a few years ago. It's probably 2015 or 16, no, 2017. Russell Brunson came up with this idea to write a book, or to create a book, because he didn't write it, to create an anthology book. And so a bunch of us who were in his inner circle, he hired this person who was like a book builder, and this person contacted a bunch of us and said, hey, Russell's wants you to contribute a chapter to this book on if you lost all your money and all you had left was an internet connection and ClickFunnels account and a credit card, what would you do to build your fortune back from scratch in 30 days, right? And so in Myron fashion, because I had a whole bunch of stuff going on, and when people give me projects, I mean, I want to do it because Russell's asking me to do it, but I also want to do it because I knew it would give me some syndication, and syndication being that people would find me in that book that would not find me otherwise, so it would make me more findable. And so so I said, okay, well, I kind of threw something together and sent it in. They're like, no, we need way more detail than this, and we need you to like they gave me a whole bunch of stuff. We want the outline, we want the step-by-step process, and we want a video that's explaining blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, I was so mad. I was like, bro, I got stuff I'm doing. You sending me this stuff, and now you want me to go into all this detail, and now I got to drop what I'm doing. I was irritated, like for real. And now you want me to go into all this detail and sit down and figure out what I do step by step, as if I know what I do step by step, because it's not like, right? You know how you get when you get irritated. You start catastrophizing. Okay, that's what I did anyway. You probably never do that. And so, but I finally got it done, and it got published in the book, and everything was fine. Okay, cool. So I was thinking this past week actually, why do people say stay stuck for so long? I don't even think I can emphasize what I believe the importance is. If you are going to create wealth, get it done sooner rather than later. I know we've all been warned about get-rich-quick schemes. I get that. Because a lot of get-rich-quick schemes are get-rich-quick scams, right? And I get that. I get a lot of the stuff that people tell you you're going to get rich quick. It's not going to work. But that doesn't mean it's not. Like, if it sounds too good to be true, it must not be true. Really? Okay, tell that to yourself next time you get on an airplane. Because I don't know that there's anything we do that seems less real. Like, it seems more too good to be true than flying on an airplane. I can go from here to Dallas in 2.5 hours. Get out of here. It's over 1,000 miles. It doesn't seem like, when you think about the details of that, there are no street signs, there are no road maps, there's nothing up there. There's no gas station. You can't pull over and say, hey, I'm a little lost in the sky here. Where do I go? Right? There's none of that. And yet, planes take off by the thousands every day and land exactly where they were intended to go. That sounds too good to be true. Air conditioning. I live in Florida. This is like air conditioning. It's not crazy hot in this building anymore, right? Okay. So that sounds too good to be true. The fact that people used to have to carry water, go down to the river and get water, and then bring it back home in buckets, but now all we have to do is turn on this little knob, and we act like it's so normal. And then I can send my brother a text, and he lives all the way in Holland, which is 4,000 miles away, and I can send a message on my phone, and all these letters that I type into this little fake screen, this little screen with these little fake buttons that are really just light shaped like buttons, and then I push send, and then all of a sudden my brother gets it instantly in another country that's 4,000 miles away. How did it know to go to his phone? That sounds too good to be true. There's so much of life that's so good that sounds too good to be true, that if we believe that if something sounds too good to be true, it must not be true, we must be sleepwalking through life. Clearly. Because almost everything in my life, Pastor Tommy, almost everything in my life feels too good to be true. Almost everything. I have a car. Okay, I have a couple of cars. I have a house. Okay, I have a couple of houses. I've got like a team of people who work for me. I've got, like, none of it makes any sense to me. It's like living in a dream world. And by the way, so are you. I'm not saying that just because I have a lot of money. I'm saying that because, like, if you live in a country that has technology and you can, like, if you're watching me on the internet right now, your life is good. Okay, anyway, getting a little ramped up here. Okay, so how do you get rich starting from scratch? There has to be a methodology. There has to, like, I used to be poor. I'm not poor anymore, right? And then I got to a place where I was making, $30,000 a month, and I was at a Robert Allen conference, and Robert asked for some testimony. I was like, yeah, man, I've had your CDs in my car for the last couple of years. I listen to them every time I get in the car. I've read this book you wrote, this book you wrote, this book you wrote. I've been applying the principles. I used to be a trash man, making $6.25 an hour. I'm killing the game. I live like a king. I'm making $30,000 a month now. My expenses are only $5,000 a month. And Robert Allen goes, wow, you're doing really good. You're about to have a breakthrough through the really big money. Did he just diss my $30,000 a month in front of 700 people? He did. I was like, wow, you asked for the testimony, bro. Why you tripping, right? And then I thought, wait, there's a level where $30,000 a month is not that much money. How do I get there? And I know what some of you are thinking. I mean, some of y'all do this, like stop lifting a verse out of context and thinking that it answers every question about that subject. It's so goofy. Okay, the love of money is the root of all evil. Okay, but go study it. Don't just quote it. Like, because when you quote it to me, I know what it means. And if you haven't studied it, you have no idea what it means. You're just quoting what you heard some pastor screaming about one day, and you thought he knew what it meant. Okay, anyway. I don't have any opinions. If I did, I'd never voice them publicly. Okay, so how do you get rich starting from scratch? Number one, you need a sizable business market. Here's what most people do. Most people, when they get ready to start a business, they start in the wrong place. They start with things they already know how to do. By the way, this is one of the reasons why the hardest people in the world to help become successful in business are people with PhDs. Second hardest, people with master's degrees. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying it's hard to teach them. Why? Because they got so much time, effort, energy, and belief invested into learning how to do this thing that they know how to do, that they think the thing that they know how to do is the value. But the thing that you know how to do and the thing that I know how to do are only as valuable as people desire to have them done. And so you have to have a sizable business market. The fact that you have a skill, great, you have a skill. But if nobody wants that skill, it doesn't matter that you have that skill. So you have to have a big market. Why? Because all of the money that you desire to have and you don't have it right now, it's in somebody else's pocket. And if you don't plan on hitting them in the head or robbing them at gunpoint, you better figure out a solution that they'd rather have than the money. Sizable, like a big market. I was talking to the guy on our team who runs our ads yesterday. And so I asked him for a report for this last couple of weeks of like how much did we spend on ads? And I think we spent in 11 days, we spent $3,400 on ads, but we brought in $11,000 in sales. And we generated 956 leads from that $3,400 ad spend, right? And so if 900 and something people in 11 days say, oh, I want to know more about what you have. And I think it was 40, what's 44 and 25? 59? 69. 69 people bought from you in an 11-day period. That's probably a big enough market, right? So like some of you think, well, I have the skill set, and so therefore I'm going to start a business, right? And that's why people who have a job working at a company as a plumber think, well, I don't have to take this from this guy. I'll just go start my own plumbing business, because they think that knowing how to do plumbing qualifies you to run a plumbing business, but it doesn't. Or you work for a landscape company, so you say, I don't have to put up with this from this guy. I'll go start my own landscape business, because you think that because you know how to do landscaping, you know how to do a landscaping business. Starting with your skill set and deciding to build a business based on your skill set is not a good idea. Or you got an invention and you invented this thing and you think it's great. And your next door neighbor, your mom, and your Aunt Susie also think it's great. And so you think that surely I need to take this product to market. Never start your business in here. Always start your business out there and find a big pool of people. What kind of pool? Big. A big pool of people. Your market has to be sizable. The market has to be big enough in people to matter. If there are only 100 people in the world that want the thing that you sell, it doesn't, unless the price is like $1 million and those people are easily findable, it's probably not a good idea to go into business for that. Like, how big is the market is a good question. It's not a question you learn to ask. It's not a question people don't start. I don't ever hear anybody come to me and say, Myron, there's this huge market. They've got this big problem. Here's the problem. Here's the really cool way I found out how to solve it. They say, this is the thing I know how to do. Or I've always wanted to write this book. Or I invented this thing when I was in the 7th grade and it's really, really cool. Or I have a really interesting story and I just believe my story will really help it. I'm telling you, you're starting your business in the wrong place. It has to, the market needs to be big enough in people to matter. The market needs to have a big enough problem that menaces them. So you need a big market that has a big problem. a big market with a small problem is not going to make you rich. And why are you always talking about money? Because that's what I do on this channel. If you don't want to learn about money, go watch somebody who's planting flowers or whatever the thing is you want to learn how to do. It's okay, right? And so they need to have a big problem. If you're not solving a big problem, you can't make big money. If you're solving a big problem for a small group of people, still going to be challenging to get rich, because how are you going to make them, how are you going to find them, or how are you going to make it so they find you? The pool of people is not big enough. So what I did is I sat down, okay, what kind of problems do people have? That's a good question, right? Like, what kind of problems do people have? Before I even ask if I can solve it, because even if I don't know how to solve it, I can figure out how to solve it. Like, I learned how to walk, I learned how to talk, I learned how to tie my shoes, I learned how to ride a bike, I learned how to drive a car, I learned how to use a computer, I learned how to use a phone. So I can learn stuff. I don't have to know everything. I don't have to start with what I know. I can literally go find a big pool of people with a big problem, figure out how to solve it. Even if I don't know how to solve it before I find the big pool of people, I can figure out how to solve it. I've already figured out enough really difficult things in my life to know I can figure out difficult things. Okay. So a big pool of people, and they need to be big enough that they matter. And then they need to have a big enough problem that menaces them. Like, the problem is one of those kind of problems that keeps you up at night. Well, what kind of problems do people have? Well, people have money problems. Right? So if I solve money problems, I know that's a problem that's going to be a big pool of people are going to have. And I know when they have it, it's going to menace them. Now, here's what I discovered, because I've had a lot of conversations. Here's what I've discovered that's shocking. The people who need the money the most are looking for money answers the least. It is a fact. The people who need the money the most believe that life is the way it is, and them looking for a money solution is not going to help them find it. It's basically a waste of time. The people who need the money the least are the ones that work the hardest to find them. It blows my mind. And I discovered this back when in my multi-level marketing days. And I have a really good friend, his name's David, and we were at a conference together, and I talked to him about a multi-level marketing business, and it was like $1,200 to get started in this business. So he paid the money, we got him started. It was like the day before we left. And so I went back and told my wife, and she said, David's rich, why would he do it? And I thought, that's a really good question. He's rich, why would he do it? And that's the first time ever in my life I realized that rich people care more about making money than poor people do. And they don't even need it. Isn't that fascinating? Like, my desire to make more money has nothing to do with what I need. I don't need any more money. But people who do need more money, but I did need money, but when I did need money, I did care a lot then too. But what I thought other people who needed money cared as much as I did, and when I talked to them, I found out they didn't care as much as I did. I'm picking up what I'm putting down. And so they need to have a big enough problem that menaces them, and then the market needs to have a big enough pile of money to pay to solve it. So the very first thing that I'm going to evaluate, if I'm serious, not curious, about getting rich starting from scratch, is how big is the market, how big is their problem, and how big is the pile of money they have to solve it. If the answer, if I don't have all three of those things, that's not a market I'm going to. So people have money problems. People have relationship problems, don't they? And when you have relationship problems, I don't know if y'all noticed this, but when you have relationship problems, money doesn't seem to matter that much anymore, right? It's like, if I could just solve this relationship problem, I'd pay money to solve this relationship problem, right? And so people have relationship problems. So if you get good at helping people solve relationship problems, then maybe, since there are a lot of people that have relationships, because guess what relationships come with? Relationship problems. I was talking to my friend Kenny one time. He said, man, I'm going to tell you, man, this dude came to me and said, Pastor Kenny, I'm having some marriage problems. He said, I looked at him, I said, you married, ain't you? Right? Okay, so people have problems. It's just like dealing with people. Why? Because they ain't you and you ain't them. And y'all have different perspectives on what? Near about everything, right? So, and let's don't even talk about when you get married and how opposite you and your spouse are. Say, how do you know I'm opposite with my spouse? That's why y'all got married, because opposites attract. And then guess what? After they attract and opposites, sometimes they attack. Oh, snap. Right? And that's why there's money to be made in the relationship niche. But what else? What other problems people have? People have health problems, right? So people have health problems. Oh, okay. Well, if I can solve health problems, then it's going to be a big pool of people to have health problems. So if I can figure out a way to solve health problems, man, I've got a great market. Now, the market by itself is not enough, but it's where you start. If you don't have the market, it doesn't matter what else you have. If you don't have a market that's big enough that matters, and they don't have a problem that's big enough that it menaces them, and they don't have a pile of money that's big enough for them to pay to solve the problem, then you don't have a business. You're not an entrepreneur, you're a wantrepreneur. Okay, so the second thing you need, other than a sizable business market, is you need a successful business market. A successful business model. A successful business model. You need a model. Model. What's a model? A model is an exemplary way of doing something, right? You need a model, a business model that is tried and true. So I've got some good news and some bad news. They're both the same. Which one do you want first? There's nothing new under the sun. If it works now, it worked then. And if it worked then, it works now. Somebody in studio was asking me this morning about market saturation. I said market saturation is a myth. It's not that the market is saturated, it's that the message that you've created is not penetrating enough to break through the market that already exists and let folks know you're different, your solution's different, right? And so the solution needs to be tried and true. Well, how can I make sure my solution is tried and true? Well, I didn't realize this at first, but I was my first case study. I was broke as a joke and ready to choke. I was stuck like Chuck in a pickup truck. Like, I didn't have two nickels to rub. I'm thinking of all the different ways my dad used to describe poverty, right? Boy, you ain't got two nickels to rub together, right? I didn't have two nickels to rub together. And I figured out how to go from that, from a person who every couple of months your electricity gets turned off. Because you have to pick, well, am I going to pay electricity this month? Am I going to pay the water? Am I going to pay the gas bill? Like, some of y'all probably don't even understand anything I'm talking about, but some of y'all know what I'm talking about, right? And then it took me a while to figure all this stuff out so I didn't have to live like that anymore. Well, guess what? I had to follow a model that was tried and true. What's a model that's tried and true? Well, if you have a solution that works, I've got good news. Principles aren't going to stop working because you started using them. Right? People are like, well, that works for you, Myron. Yeah, but if you do it, it's not going to say, well, yeah, I'm going to work for Myron, but this person, I don't know you. You think just because I'm a principal, I got to work for you too? Yes, it does. Principles are God's automation. They work for everybody who applies them. And so you need a market, you need a model that's tried and true. So that model could be, like, what kind of model could I use that's tried and true enough for me to make six figures? Okay, you could write a book. A book is a decent enough six-figure business model. If you want to make six figures, write a book that sells for $20 or that makes you $20 profit. Okay, I got this book right here. Write a book, okay? When you write a book that makes you $20 profit, watch what happens. I write a book, it makes me $20 profit, and $20 profit, all I have to do if I want to make $100,000 is sell 5,000 books. 5,000 books times $20, 2 times 5 is 10. Count the zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, that's 100 grand. Congratulations, you're making $100,000 a year. You have a $20 product that makes you $20 profit. Now, what's cool is if you flip these two numbers, and you have a $50 product, you only need to sell 2,000 of them. But watch this. If you have a $500 product, you only have to sell 200 of them. That's mind-blowing. 200? That's 5 a week. That's 1 a day, 5 days a week. And that's $2,500 a week. Congratulations. And you can have 2 weeks off at the end of the year. And you can have weekends off and make $100,000 a year. So with a simple $500 offer, guess what? When I first got started, it took me about, when I first started my training company, it took me about 6 months to go from my $147 offer to get to my $497 offer. You have a $497 offer and you're making that offer. Let's say you're offering that solution on a webinar. You're offering that solution with a virtual event or a live event. It doesn't matter where you're offering it. If you have a $500 offer, you only need to make 5 sales a week. 4 sales a week. 4 sales a week. You can have a 3-day weekend. 4 sales a week, 50 weeks a year. That's 200 sales. That's congratulations. You're making 6 figures from scratch. Guess what? let's say you want to get to 7 figures. Well, you're going to need some more. You're going to need some more pillars, but you need a model that works. So I'm not guaranteeing you're going to make 6 figures. I'm not guaranteeing you're going to make 7 figures. I'm not guaranteeing you're going to make 8 figures. I guarantee if you keep on doing what you've always done, you'll keep on getting what you've always gotten. I can guarantee you that. Okay, so sell a book or a course for $500. A $500 course, 200 courses a year, 4 courses a week. Like if you do a webinar and you get 100 people on a webinar, selling 4 of a $500 offer is pretty stinking doable. It's kind of amazing, actually. And by the way, nothing I'm teaching is theory. Like I looked at what our business cash flowed last week, $1.1 million. We generated in sales last week, $1.1 million in revenue we generated last week. And I'm not that wasn't all from our challenge either. That's just from different stuff. Well, I want you to wrap your mind around that. So what I'm teaching you is a tried and true business model. Okay? So it needs to be tried and true. The model needs to be tried and true, but the methods that you use in that model need to be tested and trained in you. What does that mean? That means I know they work. I'm not teaching theory. I know the stuff works. I'm not teaching theory. How do I know it works? Because it worked first for me. And then I showed it to a couple of people. Guess what else it did? It worked for them. So then I started telling everybody, hey, this is what we found works. So it's tested and trained in you. I believe some stuff that's pretty different. Like I don't do target marketing. I was talking about this earlier today. I don't do target marketing. I'm not looking for anybody to sell anything to. I have a fundamentally different belief system around business and sales and all of that. I'm not trying to get anybody to buy anything from me. I'm not vested in that at all. You know what I do? I just put out enough value into the marketplace to make myself findable and let folks know what solutions I've created for them. Some people are just going to watch my videos on YouTube and just do what I told them on YouTube, and their life is going to change. I met a guy at my conference in May. This guy came to me and he said, hey, 4 months ago, I found you on YouTube. He said, I started watching your videos. I was $100,000 in debt, and I was about to lose my house. Or maybe he's about to lose his business, his house or his business. He said, I just did what you said in those videos. He said, now I have $100,000 accumulated. I'm no longer in jeopardy of losing my house or my business or whatever. I just did what you said. I met another lady at a conference I did in Texas a couple of weeks ago, and she's sitting on the front row. She said, do you know what happened? Do you know what happened as a result of me watching your videos? And I attended your challenge. And she didn't buy the coaching program that I sell on my challenge. She just attended the challenge, watched my YouTube videos. She said, my business has changed. My life has changed forever. Really? Well, tell me. Like, how much were you doing before? $3,000 a month. How much are you doing now? $50,000 a month. Right? So, and she may not ever buy anything from me ever. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Like, if something is for me, no one can keep it from me. If it's not for me, no one can get it to me. And if they could, I don't want it anyway. Are y'all tracking? And so you're so busy attempting to produce a result that you're not doing the inputs that can produce that output. I'm so focused on producing the input and letting the input produce the outputs that I'm not focused on the output at all, but the output happens. Okay, you are tracking. I can see it in your face. Faces. Okay, so the method needs to be tested and trained. Like I know that putting out valuable content on social media works. I know it works because I've been doing it now for a couple of years. And even though social media doesn't make sense to me from the standpoint that I don't want to see what you had for breakfast. I don't want to see what you had for lunch. I'm sure your outfit's nice, but I don't want to look at it on Instagram. I don't care. And I don't understand why anybody would care about that from me. But it doesn't matter if I understand it or not. I know it's true. So I put out stuff on Instagram and I put out stuff on YouTube because somebody is going to care. Not because I care, but because I know people care. Okay, y'all tracking. I do care to watch animal fight videos. I'm not even going to go into that. But that's my... Did you know that an ostrich can get away from a cheetah? I didn't know that an ostrich can... Anyway. Didn't know that was possible. Okay. So, the method needs to be transferable and transformational. So... it can't be something like, yeah, I've got a double jointed thumb, so I can do this really cool thing with my hand. Nope, that's not it. Right? It needs to be transferable and transformative. Transformational. Whatever your method is that you use, you have to be able to transfer it to other people. So here's what we learn from that. Just because a person can produce a result doesn't mean they can teach you to produce it. Because everybody who can do something cannot teach the thing they can do. So you want to make sure that when you find somebody who's going to teach you how to do a thing, make sure that not only do they know how to do the thing, but make sure also they know how to teach the thing. How can I know if they know how to teach the thing? Find some people they've taught and ask them questions, right? Because if you ask the person questions, of course they're going to say, well, yeah, I can do that. Okay, like introduce me to the people you've already helped with this methodology. Are y'all tracking? Okay, so you need a sizable business market, you need a successful business model, and you need a simple business message. Now, there's a difference between simple and easy. A simple business message is simple for you to say, and when you say it, it's simple for them to see what you mean. That's what I mean when I say simple. It's simple for you to say. Now, if it is simple for you to say, that means work went into figuring out what to say and how to say it. And the work that you put into figuring out what to say and how to say it is the thing that makes your message, when you say it, worth listening to. But if you didn't put any time, effort, energy, and attention into figuring out what you're going to say and how you're going to say it, when you say it, nobody cares. Are you tracking? So the work that I do is not this. This is just me showing my work. The work that I do is the study that I do when nobody's watching. The work that I do is the thinking that I do when nobody's watching. The work that I do is obsessing over figuring out what problems people have when nobody's watching. That's the work. This is the fun. This is easy. I'm just playing now. I already did the work. Now it's time to play. Okay. So it has to be simple, but it can't be a copy of a cliche. What's a copy of a cliche? Well, when you were repeating something you heard a student of Tony Robbins say, and that student heard Tony Robbins say it, and Tony Robbins heard Jim Rohn say it, and Jim Rohn got it from Napoleon Hill, and it wasn't even right the first time the first person said it. And I'm just using those people as an example. I'm not throwing shade on any of those people. Jim Rohn was amazing. Tony Robbins has some amazing information. A lot of people like Napoleon Hill's book. I'm just not one of them. But that's a different conversation for a different day. But my point being, like, when you are walking around pretending you came up with an idea that you got from somebody else, the person, and assuming that the person you're saying it to didn't hear that other person say it, so now all they know is that you are a parrot. You might as well be walking around, riding around right now on Sinbad the Sailor's shoulder, right? Because you're a parrot. You know how to repeat what you've heard. But you haven't demonstrated that you know how to think, and you haven't demonstrated that you've obsessed over somebody else's problem long enough to figure out a solution that's both elegant and effective. So, yeah, you can, the message needs to be simple. I love what Jim Rohn said. See, but when I say I love what Jim Rohn said, notice what I did. I love what Jim Rohn said. I'm giving him credit. I'm not pretending I said it. Because if I pretend I said it, now my character comes into question, as it should. Did you hear what I said? Because I'm pretending that I came up with something that Jim Rohn said. Well, clearly I'm not Jim Rohn. Okay, so I love what Jim Rohn said. Jesus had a very powerful testimony, but it was really, really short. It was only 2 words. Follow me. It made me wonder, how could his presentation be so short and yet be so powerful? And then he said this, because of all that he was that he didn't have to talk about. And then he said, most people attempt to make up in words what they lack in substance. I'm like, that's so good. So let me ask you a question. Have you developed a message that's so simple because it's based on all that you are that you don't have to talk about? So that when you say something, it lands. Because people can tell that you thought about it long before they thought about it, and a whole lot more than they've thought about it. And in fact, you've even come to a conclusion, and all they've come to before they listened to you was confusion. Oh, snap. Okay. So the message must not be a copy of a cliche. The message must be clear and not clever. How do I make my messaging more clear? And when I get to the end of this, I'm going to show you, I showed you a 6-figure path. I'm going to show you a 7-figure path, and then I'm going to show you 8-figure path. Okay, I'm going to show you how this works. So I'm not just, like, this video, from scratch, like how to get to 6 figures, 7 figures, or 8 figures from scratch. I'm going to show you that in this video. Okay, so the message needs to be clear, not clever. What does that mean? So many people, when they're talking to people, they attempt to be clever, to make people believe that they're smart, or to be impressive. I have no desire to be impressive. I only have a desire to be impactful. If you're impactful, people will be impressed. But if you're impressive, people won't necessarily be impacted. If you're impactful, you'll have both. If you're impressive, you may have neither. So don't show people how awesome you are. Show people how awesome they are. So, clear, not clever. How do you make your message more clear? Number one, your message. So when people ask you what you do, they're not asking you what you do. They're asking you what you can do for them. Are y'all tracking? When you answer them, you must make sure you include these components. Number one, the answer must be measurable. What's measurable mean? There's a clear before and a clear after. They weren't able to do ABC before they had your solution. They'll be able to do ABC effortlessly and elegantly as a result of having your solution. So there's a measurable. It's not clear if it's not measurable. People say, well, I help people with their mental health. That's not measurable. I help people deal with past trauma. Not measurable. I help people optimize their wellness. Not measurable. I help people make a fortune. Not measurable. Like a clear before and a clear after. If it's not measurable, it's not, well, it brings me to the next thing. It needs to be measurable. It needs to be desirable. By desirable, I don't mean that it needs to be something you desire them to have. By desirable, I mean it's something they already desired to have before they knew you existed. So when I'm creating my message, I'm creating my message based on their desires that I've studied, I've researched, so I know what they're desiring before I start talking to them about stuff I desire them to desire. Because they don't care what I desire them to desire. They only care what they desire. Are y'all tracking? And so the message has to be clear. How's it clear? Make it measurable. Make it desirable. It needs to be believable. And when I say believable, they need to believe that you have the ability to help them produce this result. If it's not measurable and it's not desirable and it's not believable, they ain't buying it. They're not buying. We buy because we believe. Why do we believe? Because it was desirable. Why do we believe? Because it was measurable. Okay, and then lastly, it needs to be stateable, and when you state it, you need to be able to state it in a soundbite. If it takes you forever to get to your point, people are going to walk away. And if they don't walk away in their body, they're going to walk away in their mind. They're going to stop listening. Their eyes are going to glaze over. They're going to say, okay, why is this person still talking? And see, some people can't get to the point because they don't know what the point is. And even when they know what the point is, they don't know what the most important points of the point is. And so they start talking to you about the details before they paint the big picture. So let me help you understand something. Whenever you're communicating something and you want to be clearer, always start from out here and go to in here. If you start in here and go out here, I'm telling you, you're losing. There'll be people who are interested in the minutia that will still listen to you, but they're not going to buy from you. You have to start with big picture. Why? Because big picture is where the payoff lives, right? The minutia is where the pieces in the process. That's where that stuff lives. But the payoff lives in the big picture. Okay. So, and then the message must be congruently conceivable. What does that mean? That means the message that you're telling them, in the message in which you're telling them you can solve their problem, then who you appear to be has to be congruent with that outcome. What does that mean? I'm a health coach, but I'm not in shape. That's not congruently conceivable. I'm a wealth coach, but I'm broke. Not it's not congruently conceivable, right? I'm a relationship coach going through a divorce. Not conceivably congruent. It's not congruently conceivable, right? It has to match. Your message has to match your mannerisms. It has to match like your character. Your conversation and your character have to be a match. If they're not, people are not going to buy. Right? Like, fortunately, like when I bought my Rolls Royce, I could write that off because it's a heavy enough car, right? But that car has made me wait, and I mean, brand new, it would be a $400,000 car. I got it for around $300,000. Okay, cool. Well, that car's made me way more than $300,000. Why? Because it makes my message congruently conceivable. It's not even why I bought it. I bought it because I liked it. Right? That's the reason. But it also contributes to the story. And it makes my message more congruently conceivable. Why? Because I teach people how to make money. And I don't need to drive a Rolls Royce to teach people how to make money. But I like driving a Rolls Royce. So, and I happen to teach people how to make money. So even though it shouldn't necessarily, like buying a Rolls Royce or driving a Rolls Royce doesn't make you richer. It actually makes you $300,000 or $400,000 poorer, right? Unless, of course, you pay for that according to your creativity, in which case then it makes you richer. Okay, but that's another conversation for a different day. So now, we talked about your sizable business market. We talked about your successful business model. We talked about your simple business message. Now, how do we take all these things and put them together? We talked about how to make 6 figures. How do you make 7 figures? How do I make $1 million? Okay, let's talk about $1 million. Let's talk about $1 million, and then we're going to talk about 8 figures, which is at least $10 million, and then we're going to be done. Okay, how do you make $1 million? You have a $20 product and you sell 50,000 of them. Now, that seems, oh, Myron, that's, hey, Trash Man and Cash Man is a $20 book. We've sold 175,000 copies of that book. 175,000 plus copies of that book. That book, that Trash Man to Cash Man, a book that I wrote in 2007. I actually wrote the Ebony Treasure Map in 2006, and then I changed the title to Roadmap to Trash Man to Cash Man in 2007. That book last month made me $18,000. The other book that I showed you, Boss Moves, last month made me $28,000. 28,000 and change plus 18,000 and change. It turned to like $47,000 in 1 month. So this is not theory from just 2 books. $47,000 in 1 month from just 2 books, right? Now, if you're going to write books and that's how you're going to get rich, the books have to be good, right? You have to figure out how to just write a good book. By the way, writing a good book doesn't just mean I wrote a book about a good topic, right? You have to write a book about a good topic, but you have to write it in a way that makes it good to read, like so that people tell other people about it, right? So that's one. But watch this. If I take this zero here and I move it up here and I have a $200,000 product, I only have to sell 5,000 of them. And this is $1 million, right? So if I have a $200 product, I sell 5,000, that's $1 million. Okay? If I have a $2,000 product, move that zero. If I have a $2,000 product, I only have to sell 500 of them. So if I have a $2,000 offer, I only have to sell 500. Now 500, are y'all with me? Y'all tracking? 500 is 10 a week. There's 52 weeks in a year. 10 a week, you get a 2-week vacation. You have a $2,000 offer. Hear me now when I say this. You have a $2,000 offer, you sell 10 a week. How many is 10 a week? 2 a day, 5 days a week. You can have weekends off. 2-week vacation. You're making $1 million a year. This is not theory for me. This is what I do over and over and over and over and over and over again. With multiple different products, in multiple arenas. We do this over and over and over again. We just keep stacking it, right? Okay, so cool. So what happens when I move another zero and I have a $20,000 mastermind? I'll have to make 50 sales. That's 1 a week. That's $1 million a year. Huh. Well, I have a $27,000 mastermind, and we have a couple hundred people in it. And it's $27,000. 50 of a $20,000 makes you $1 million. We have a couple hundred people in a $27,000 mastermind. We have over 100 people in a $55,000 mastermind. We have 9 people in a $350,000 a year mastermind. We have 3 people in a $1 million a year mastermind. Oh, Myron, you're so wonderful and you're so smart. No. You missed the point, baby. You missed the point. It's not that I'm wonderful and smart. It's that I do things that work. This works. That's 7 figures. Okay, well, how do you make 8 figures? You want to make 8 figures? 8 figures is $1 million a month. Think about that. 8 figures is $1 million a month. So if I have a $30,000 offer, and I have offers that are way bigger than $30,000. If I have a $30,000 offer, all I have to do, if I can figure out a way to sell 34 of these a month, 34 a month. Now that seems like a lot, and it is a lot. Is it doable? Well, it certainly seems like it, because I'm not the only person in the world who's done it. That's $10 million a year. That's actually $12 million a year, because that's $1 million a month. It's $1 million a month. None of this is theory, but it only happens if you have a big enough pool of people with a big enough problem, and you've obsessed over that problem, you found an elegant solution, and then you figured out a way to say it in a way that causes them to be able to see it, and then they say, okay, I'll take it, and then they pay you, and then congratulations, you're a millionaire. Now here's what happens. Here's why. But Myron, if it's that simple, how come more people don't do it? Here's why. And you do that, this is not $1 million a year. This is $10 million. This is if you sell 34 per month.